Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as the Premier League prepares to lock down over Christmas. Dean Henderson hands a transfer request in effectively, according to Fabrizio Romano, and a lot more to discuss. We're going to start off talking about Manchester United though, because obviously it is the United Stand. We're meant to be doing a Brighton preview. I tell you what, if we do a Brighton preview on this channel in the next 48 hours, I'll be really happy. But I decided I am not going to do a Brighton preview because I did this for Brentford and it got cancelled 2 hours after. And at this moment in time, there'll be very little point in me telling you how Brighton are going to line up or how we're going to line up. I still think a game can happen. I think United can get 14 players and I think Brighton can get 14 players. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. And if it is going to happen, then we'll do the preview. But we've got lots and lots to bring you. Of course, we've got Manchester United against Brighton on Saturday, but we were meant to be getting Leicester against Tottenham tonight. That has now been suspended as well. So there is rumours that the Premier League are meeting this afternoon to lock down over the next couple of weeks and no Premier League football. I don't know what I think about that, but let's just give you the latest on Manchester United and why. I mean, I thought the Brighton game was going to get suspended anyway, but this is from Samuel Luckhurst. He says, Manchester United's game with Brighton on Saturday in doubt. Still no official confirmation from either the club or the Premier League if the game will be postponed. Fewer players at Carrington today than yesterday. Ronaldo himself was apparently not at Manchester United's training complex today. It feels like Manchester United have not got a hold on this. Leicester haven't got a hold on it either. Brighton haven't got a hold on it. There's a few clubs in the Premier League that just do not have a hold of this COVID outbreak at the moment. But on the flip side, Spurs have. They wanted the game to get postponed so they could play Rennes because that was outstanding from their COVID outbreak a week or so ago. Liverpool haven't got any issues at the moment. Villa don't really have many issues. So there are certain clubs, Chelsea have got it at the moment, but there are certain clubs that don't. I mean, does the Premier League need to lock down? I'm not so convinced that it does. I think those teams that can play should play and those teams that can't play don't play. Because I think what that does then is it's encouragement for those players that can't, those clubs that can't play to get a move on. I mean, if I'm Liverpool and I haven't got COVID cases, I'm like, why do we want a backlog? We'll play our game tonight against Newcastle and we'll play Spurs on the weekend. Liverpool are probably a good example at the moment. They're playing tonight against Newcastle. Spurs don't have a COVID outbreak either, so they can play on Sunday. And if I'm Liverpool, I'm going, look, we'll play our games right now, thanks. I don't want a backlog later on. We'll play our games now. And then that puts pressure on the other clubs to go, fucking hell, everyone else is playing games. Let's sort ourselves out. Had a ticket booked for the Brighton game for a couple of months now. 90% sure it won't happen, but would love to find out either way soon. I would hope, Matt, that you will get told this afternoon. McKenna to Ipswich is done apparently. Can you confirm? Says Tom. I don't know whether McKenna to Ipswich is done or not, but if it is, that's something to... It's Christmas! It's Christmas, but... This is quite interesting as well. We're going to be talking about Dean Henderson. Fabrizio Romano has spoken about him. But this is quite interesting as well. Samuel Luckhurst, this is from. Got the booster this morning, booster jab. No queue and barely any wait for appointment. Premier League urgently need to show transparency with vaccine uptake among players. Not just league in general, but per club. Supporters, by and large, doing their bit. What about the players? So you've got to have a vaccine to go and watch Manchester United play from now on. But you can come and play for Manchester United without a vaccine. I think that's basically what is being said there. This is from Henry Winter as well. Fast-moving situation in relation to what's going on. Players need to get vaxxed or stay away. So I don't know what I think about this, but I'm just reading out. You know, it is a fan channel at the end of the day. And another point from Samuel Luckhurst, pertinent point that Premier League owe fans for stopping Super League. Game on Saturday's last pre-Christmas fixture with kick-off at 12:30. Many matchgoers will be up at silly o'clock, others travelling from abroad. Club and league need to show regard for supporters. And I agree with that, 100%. They do need to act a little bit quicker here. And I think that that's what everybody wants to see happening. But the other interesting thing is that when you look at the league table now, Arsenal have played 17 games, we've played 16 games, Spurs have played 14 games. So it's starting to get a little bit disjointed. But McNally says forcing people to get the vaccine isn't right, and I would agree with that. But forcing people... they're quite happy to stop people coming to Old Trafford if you've not had the vaccine. So, I think I'm just bringing it in there that more and more more and more media outlets are now saying, why are footballers being allowed to turn up for training when they're not vaccinated, and it's causing a problem. I don't like this. I don't like this conversation. I'm just bringing it in, and I'm probably going to leave it there. And I don't like to do that sort of thing, but I don't want to go into that world. But what I would say is that Premier League rumoured to be meeting this afternoon. I expect Manchester United's game to get postponed because we had the game against Brighton postponed. Brighton tried, Graham Potter, after the game last night between Brighton and Wolves, wanted to have that game postponed. I think they will come in and speak to the Premier League today and say, look, we've got more people that have not trained today. We can barely put a team out. We want it to get postponed. That's what Leicester did. Leicester tried to get their game against Spurs postponed last night. They've done it today by saying we've got more COVID cases today, so therefore we can't play the game. I think the Premier League need to be applauded, actually. I know this is going to be quite controversial, but I think the Premier League do need to be applauded. I think that there are a lot of people quite frustrated at the moment, and I'd put myself in that category as well. But it's very clear to me that the Premier League are trying to get games played, and they're trying to not shut it down. And I applaud that because, as I said, Liverpool and Newcastle play tonight. Liverpool and Spurs play on Sunday. Why can't they play? They don't have any COVID outbreaks at the moment, so why would they not play their games? United can't play. Leicester can't play. Well, get on top of it. Get it sorted in the next 10 days. You've got a Boxing Day game to sort out. And I like that approach until you can't do that approach. But I think for me at the moment, it's a little bit early to start saying, let's lock the Premier League down like some people are saying should happen. I don't think even half the clubs can't play games at the moment. We know Leicester can't. We know Manchester United can't. We know Brighton don't want to. Chelsea probably are heading towards that. That's only 4 clubs. So, we're not even at halfway stage yet. Are other leagues around Europe dealing with this? The NFL is, and have said you forfeit if you can't field a team. Seems the Premier League is bottling it, says Stuart Walker. I think the Premier League is doing quite well. To be honest with you, I think the Premier League is doing quite well. I know that we're not getting the decisions until late, but they are obviously trying to get the games. Better to be vaccinated and have side effects than dying of COVID, says Sri. Well, we're not going to start talking about stuff like that. We're not going to start talking about stuff like that. So look, I'm not going to do a preview for Brighton at the moment. The situation is that Manchester United against Brighton is expected to get suspended or postponed. And there is a rumour that the Premier League might suspend the Premier League. Now, the funny thing is here, and I will bring this in as well. How many games in the Championship and League One are being postponed? Not many. Why is it in the Premier League? Because we test. Premier League has got the money. Premier League has got VAR, and Premier League has got loads and loads of testing going on. The more you test, the more you find it. Which is absolutely fine when it's a killer disease, but when it's a disease, when it's a variant that is meant to cause very minor illness amongst most people, is the testing now the problem? Should we not be living in a society now where we're not testing, where if you've got symptoms you isolate, but if you're fine you just carry on? And I'm not just talking about football there, because that's what's happening in the Championship and lower divisions. They're not having games postponed because they're not testing. And as Tom says, maybe we should be stop testing and get on with it, because ultimately, I think the Premier League's problem is that they're testing so much. I mean, how many of the people who've tested positive for COVID are actually ill or showing symptoms? Over 50% of people who have Omicron or whatever it's called show no symptoms. So I could turn up for training for Manchester United today, do a test. How are you feeling, Goldie? I'm feeling great. I'm going to score 20 goals today and I'm going to skin Ronaldo. You're not. You'll be doing it on FIFA because you've tested positive. You're having a bloody laugh. I feel like Superman. You've got COVID, and guess what? You better go home for 10 days. And that's the thing, isn't it? Testing young, healthy players. I mean, at the end of the day, these are brave decisions to be made. But look, the reality is, lower divisions are not postponing games because they're not mass testing. So unless you're ill, you come to training and you play. Like when you've got a cold. So, I don't know what the answer is, but the Premier League is almost the victim of its own testing now. What is the actual reasons no one is vaxxed, says Cloud City? Because they don't want to. Some people don't believe in them. Some people don't want to do it. My mate, And so, yeah, that's where we are. So I personally expect Manchester United against Brighton to get postponed. But that, to me, means we should play Newcastle on Boxing Day, unless Newcastle have a break. Because, to be honest with you, by the middle of next week, we will have players back. And those players probably haven't been ill, so they can just train, and they will be training at home. I mean, the mad thing is, I was speaking to somebody today who can't train, who said, I'm positive I can't train with the players because I've got to isolate, but I'm at home on the treadmill doing drills because I'm not ill. So when they go back to training midweek next week, they can train. And then they can play against Newcastle or whatever club it is they play for. So it is weird that when you think of a player that's got COVID, they're not sat at home wrapped up in a blanket with a bowl of soup watching daytime TV. A lot of them are sat at home feeling absolutely fine, but having to stay at home. So I would say, and I would hope, that the game against Brighton goes ahead, but if it doesn't go ahead, the Newcastle game goes ahead. I don't feel that we need to lock down when clubs are... Look, Brighton, Chelsea, Manchester United, Leicester, they're going to be through this in a week. They'll be past all this in a week. And yeah, other clubs will get it, but then... You know what I'm trying to say is that Liverpool are going to play tonight and they're probably going to play on Sunday unless the Premier League makes a stupid big decision, right? So Liverpool will have played 2 more games with it than us. But by next week, when we start playing again, Liverpool might have their outbreak and then they can't play for 2 games and we do. It'll all catch itself up is what I'm trying to say. As I said, I know the Premier League are frustrating people because they're delaying calling off games, but I think they're trying to get games on. I think that's what they're trying to do. And you know, my personal feeling on this, and I'm actually not going to say it publicly because it'll bite me on the arse. But that's where we are with that. So we'll have to wait and see. But I am expecting it to get suspended, probably in the next few hours. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, let's talk about Dean Henderson. This is coming from Fabrizio Romano. So Fabrizio Romano is saying this. Dean Henderson's always been respectful of Manchester United, but he wants to play football. We've just got some breaking news from Samuel Luckhurst as well. He's saying Manchester United's game against Brighton on Saturday is expected to be postponed. Sources say it is likely to be called off. That's just come out in the last minute or so. So, you know, it's not a surprise from what we've just been talking about there. So, you know, that's the way it is. That's just the situation, and I think we expected that to happen, which would mean the earliest Manchester United could play a game of football is going to be a week on Monday, and that's if Newcastle don't get an outbreak. So we might not be playing for 3 weeks, which is crazy, really. But that is the situation. Anyway, let's talk about Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson's always been respectful and professional, but he's now prepared to leave Manchester United. His priority is to play. Whether it will happen in January or the summer, it will depend on the offers. No talks ongoing with Ajax as things stand. That's from Fabrizio Romano. So Manchester United have effectively put Dean Henderson on the transfer market if they can get anything for him. And look, I don't disagree with this. I mean, I've always felt that David De Gea is the better player for Manchester United at this moment in time. So I think Dean Henderson's made the right decision there, and the fact that it's coming via Fabrizio Romano speaks volumes. And I think it will happen, and I think it's the right thing to happen. What I would say is that I don't know why this. You know, this is another Solskjaer thing for me. You know, Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, Donny van der Beek, Juan Mata, Nemanja Matic. There's 5 or 6 players there that were clearly lied to. Oh, you're going to get game time. And then we're still sat here with no game time for them, really. Dean Henderson, why? Why, when he came back off the season for Sheffield United, did we hand him a long-term contract on 150 grand a week or 140 grand a week? Dean Henderson came back from Sheffield United. We gave him a long-term contract, 140 grand a week, and said, you can fight for the first team slot. And he believed it. A year after we'd just given David De Gea 350 grand a week and a 5-year deal. We pay £500,000 a week to 2 goalkeepers. This is Manchester United for you. So I don't blame Dean Henderson. He had a very good season at Sheffield United, and he's come back to Manchester United, and not been able to dislodge one of the best goalkeepers we've had. I think this comes down to Solskjaer. I kept saying this. I remember Gary Neville saying it. I remember a lot of you saying it as well. Having two goalkeepers like that doesn't work. I remember we had Ben Foster. We had a chat with Ben Foster and he said, if I'm the goalkeeper, I want to know I'm number one and I want to know the guy on the bench is number two. And if I play really, really bad, maybe the number two gets his shot. But at least I know I'm number one. You don't want to be number one and then looking at the bench and going, he's a number one as well. Because it's just, you need confidence. And for some reason, Solskjaer created this situation between Henderson and De Gea that was amateur. You know, having two great goalkeepers or good goalkeepers fighting against each other. There's never an end game. Oh, De Gea's playing really well. You're on the bench, Dean. Oh, he's made a mistake. You're in goal, Dean. Oh, you've made a mistake. David, you're in goal. Stability, confidence is what a goalkeeper needs. So I applaud Dean Henderson. He has been respectful. I think he's probably been lied to, just like Lingard has and others. And I think he's right to move on. And I think actually he'll meet a manager in Ralph Rangnick now who says to him, honestly, look, De Gea's my goalkeeper. You won't get much game time. So if you can find a move, go. This should have been said to him 2 years ago. Sheffield United, he was one of the best goalkeepers in England. People thought he would be England's number one. Forget Manchester United. Pickford's England's number one and Ramsdale's fighting for it. So is Henderson the third choice keeper now? Well, you've got Pope as well. So his career is... I mean, look, to be fair to Dean Henderson, his career is deteriorated. A young goalkeeper who people were talking about England's number one and kept at the club. All right, it's been good money, but he's not had he's stood still for 2 years. He does need to go and get game time. So I applaud Dean Henderson for that. There's no logical reason for him to stay unless we're selling De Gea, which we're not. So, yeah, I think Dean Henderson does need to go. And, it should have happened before. And if we can sell him, we can get decent money for him. I think he's a £30 million goalkeeper. If Ramsdale's 25, I think he's a £30 million goalkeeper. But we've probably lost his value. If we'd have sold him last summer or the summer before, I think we could have got even 40 million. But now we might be looking to get 20, 25. I wonder whether United has seen the financial mismanagement and is now taking action. It's painful, but has to be done for a better future, says Pratosaurus Rex. And Sanath says, what's it so far? Man City, Leicester, Brentford, Watford, Wolves, Manchester United, Norwich, Spurs, Chelsea, all with COVID cases. Chelsea today, effectively half the league, inevitable postponement, says Senath. No, I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that I just think there's a total contradiction in what's going on with COVID at the moment. And Manchester United against Brighton is clearly going to get postponed. I've been saying that for a few days. It clearly will do, and take it away from United because there's loads of things to talk about anyway. But I'm off down the pub this afternoon. I'm sure it's going to be very busy. I'm not going to not go. This has been arranged for a long time, and I'm not going to not go. I've had the vaccine. I've got the booster booked in very, very soon. That's not me telling you to go and get it. I don't believe in telling people what to do, but I'm going to the pub this afternoon, and many Man United fans would go and watch United play Brighton at the weekend as well, because that's what they want to do. But then you've got this football situation where they want to shut down. I don't think League One is going to shut down this weekend. So if you want to watch live football, go and watch League One. I don't think they're going to shut down. Why has the Premier League got this problem? I heard somebody say today maybe the players want Christmas off. Well, for the players, it's not a bad thing as long as they're not ill. A couple of weeks off over Christmas with your family is a novelty. You're still going to get your wages, aren't you? So, but that's not why they're off. That's not why they're off. I'm sure they want to play football. It's everybody's dream job. But I'd be interested to see how the Premier League approach this, because the dangerous thing is, Kane says something about Pfizer. I don't know about that, so I'm not going to shout that out, Kane. Mark, I've noticed Liverpool have got 0 cases. Is this down to Klopp and the stance to get vaccinated from staff to players? Meaning teams who have players who are against it are causing this spread, says Amit. I don't know about the situation at Liverpool, Amit. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know whether Klopp has insisted that people get vaccinated or not. I personally think, and I don't want to talk about... look, if you've joined a little bit late, let me just read you this, because it's from a Manchester Evening News, Samuel Looker. So what he's saying is, Tyrone Marshall from Manchester Evening News has said that only a handful of United players reported to Carrington this morning, mostly for rehab and conditioning work rather than a full training session. Rangnick was at the training ground. So we're not prepping for this game. We're not prepping to play against Brighton at all. Samuel Looker says the game with Brighton on Saturday is in doubt. No confirmation, but fewer players at Carrington than yesterday. So we're not playing this game. They just need to announce it, don't they? We're not training. We're not preparing for it. You know, some people would say United are quite arrogant about that when some clubs have had to play, but that's basically what Manchester United are doing at the moment. But there is this point about matchgoers have got to have a vaccine, but players don't have to have it, and they can play on the pitch, but others can't. And I don't know. I don't really know where people are going with this, but I think what is being said is that the more the clubs and the Premier League want as many players to be vaccinated as possible. My only thought process behind that is that if you're vaccinated, it doesn't stop you getting infected. It just stops you getting more severe illness, but you'll still test positive anyway, won't you? So I don't know. I don't really understand what that's all about. I really don't. Look, don't take this to the bank. Really don't take this to the bank. But my prediction is that this is not going to be as bad as people think it is. And I'm not going to go any deeper than that, but I'm just going to say I don't think this scenario that people are in at the moment is going to be as bad as they think it is. I don't necessarily think there's a need to lock the Premier League down. I also don't think we're going to be in a case where we're in total lockdown as a society again. And maybe I'm totally naive here, and I'm not talking about football, but some of us have had 2 jabs in our arms, some of us had 3. We shouldn't be going back to March 13th, 2020. And I think that's what it feels like today. In March 13th, 2020 was when COVID really hit the UK. Premier League got suspended. I read the article today. It's been suspended till mid-April. We didn't get it back till mid-June. There was no vaccine. Nobody even knew anything. There was no testing. Nobody even really knew what this virus was all about. March the 13th, 2020. You're telling me on the 16th of December 2021, after 2 or 3 jabs in your arm and a weakening virus, we're now going to go back into a world where everything shuts down for 2 or 3 months. I don't think we're heading towards that at all. I think we might need a break, but I don't think the break needs to be for everybody. I mean, let the teams that don't have issues play games. The teams that have issues, sort your house out. 10 days, whatever, sort it out. I don't think we need to lock everything down, because ultimately, I've got a feeling by mid-January we'll be looking back at this going, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. But look, that's just speculation. I hope maybe I'm offering a bit of hope, but that's not just my opinion. I was watching something from the Zoe YouTube channel today. Tim Spector is very well respected, and he was sort of hinting at the same, that it doesn't expect it to be as bad as people think it's going to be. Kush says you've got the right to not get vaccinated and the club has the right to not play you. As simple as that. Bayern did it with Kimmich. Well, I think what you can do is tell the players to stay away if they're not vaccinated, because then, you know, do they spread it more than others? I don't know. I sort of put it out there because I don't know. What's the problem with unvaccinated players turning up to training? Because I saw somebody saying today, I think it was on the Henry Winters thing, saying unvaccinated players need to be told to stay away from training. So, but why? Is it because they're I suppose they're more likely to get it. They're not protected as much, and therefore if they get it, they spread it, I suppose. But we'd need to know the science behind that. Mark, it should be perfectly acceptable to say people should get the vaccine. People do what they want. Advice should be to get it, says Aram. Vaccines help you to not get severe lung-related symptoms. If all players get vaccinated, they can be positive, but this would stop being an excuse, says Mario Franco. There'll be another variant after this variant. The variants are getting weaker. The flu is far more serious, but no tests for that, says CM. Yeah. I mean, look, you know, we will see. We will see what happens. But somebody just said there that unvaxxed people are far more likely to spread COVID. Next question. Somebody just asked me just to check something on Twitter. Let me just have a quick look. So yeah, I'm very, very glad we didn't do the preview, to be honest, because it would have been a total waste of time. How could you do a preview anyway? We don't even know who's meant to get it. This is just in from ESPN via United Journal. A significant reduced number of players were accounted for on Thursday amid the likelihood of the weekend's game being called off. Manchester United refused to confirm if McTominay had tested positive for COVID after he left the premises on Wednesday. That's from Samuel Luckhurst. An increasing number of clubs are pushing for a shutdown of the Premier League until the new year in an attempt to deal with the growing coronavirus crisis. That's from ESPN. I suppose, look, I can understand that. But you know what? The Premier League is not the centre of the universe, but it feels like it is. The cricket's going on in Australia. We've got the darts going on in the UK. Snooker's going on. Other sports are going on, but the Premier League is really struggling. And is it right to shut the Premier League down completely because 8 or 9 clubs have got a few COVID cases? Like, do the other clubs need to shut down, or should they just carry on playing games? As I said, if I'm Liverpool and we haven't got COVID, I'm like, I want to play the games. I want to play the games because, all right, the AFCON's probably going to get cancelled, but Liverpool have got a few players going to the AFCON. Now, if you're Jurgen Klopp, you've got 3 games before that AFCON kicks off where you can use your players. If those games gets postponed and then they do go to the AFCON, and then I've got a backlog when I'm trying to win the league and the Champions League, you know, I'm like, no, I want to play the games. But is it right to shut it all down in fairness? I don't know. I'd rather Liverpool were playing Newcastle tonight and Spurs on the weekend. I'd rather watch some football than no football, to be honest. But I'm not so sure other leagues are going to follow in the Premier League's path. I don't think the Championship will. I don't think League One will. I think that what I would like to see is the Premier League being hard on this. Look, no footballers dying, are they? Like they're not even seriously ill. It's if they've got it, a lot of them aren't. As I said, I know players that are isolating and training but have positive tests. So they're not. It's not like they're at home ill. They're basically sat on their arse because they've got a virus that they've tested positive for. It just seems overkill to shut something down for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. And if you shut it down and they're not training, like I said this morning, you're basically shutting it down for a month. 2 weeks to have a rest and 2 weeks to get fully fit again. So I don't know. I think it's a difficult thing. I hope the Premier League show some. And look, you know, these players that aren't vaccinated, they could be vaccinated right now. Go and get it done right now. What's the percentage? I'm starting to lean towards what I read this morning, that there needs to be some transparency. Football fans have to get a vaccine to go into a football match, but you don't know what players on the pitch have and haven't had it. Now, I don't want to know their bloody names, but a percentage would be good. What's the percentage of each Premier League club's vaccination? Because we've got to have it to go and watch the match, but they don't have to do it for us to go and watch them. So, and is this why we're now going into a lockdown? Are we going into a Premier League lockdown because loads of footballers aren't vaccinated? And, you know, I just think that I'd like to see the Premier League being a bit strict on this. I'd like to see them doing what the NFL does. If you're not playing, you forfeit the points. And they'll soon start fucking playing, I'm telling you now. But if in the case of Leicester, if they can only put 6 players out, fine, you've got to suspend it. But what time is Cooking with Goldbridge getting uploaded? I was going to do it today, Connor, but you know what? I just don't think people are in the in that frame of mind at the moment. So we'll probably put it up tomorrow when people are feeling a little bit more over whatever's going to happen this afternoon, because I think a lot of people are going to be feeling quite pissed off this afternoon, aren't they? I'm trying not to read out people who are anti and pro-vax, because that's not what we're all about. And the Premier League is set to shut down until January the 8th via ESPN, says Dan. Fucking hell, that's nearly a month. That is a bloody joke, man. What a joke. 8th of January, having a bloody laugh. The 8th of January is actually FA Cup weekend as well, so that's not right. It can't be till the 8th of Jan. But that's just a bloody joke. Like, I'll go back to what I said. 2 jabs in your arm, and it's like March the fucking 13th, 2020. What the fuck are the Premier League and football clubs doing? How can we be in this situation a year ago where nobody's had any vaccines? We're rife. We're in a bloody lockdown and every game is getting played. A year later, people have had vaccines. It's a less severe illness and they're shutting down for a month. Like, can you get your head around that for a minute? Get your head around this, right? March the 13th, 2020. Worldwide pandemic. Football stops for 3 months. Yes, I understand why that happens. Last January, UK's in a lockdown. Hospitals are rammed. People are dying. No vaccine available. Premier League clubs are still playing games 3 times a week. No problems. A year later, less severe illness, loads of vaccine. We need to shut down for a month. It doesn't make any bloody sense, does it? Seriously, how does that happen? How do you go from last year being more extreme than this year? They're playing 3 times a week last year, but this year we need to shut down for a month. It's a bloody joke. And as somebody said, mainstream media, scaremongering, whatever you want to bloody call it. But what is going on? How has this happened and why is it being allowed to happen? It's a bloody joke. So there's some serious questions that need to be answered, but they won't get answered, will they? Of course they won't get answered. But I think the Premier League should be considering postponements on a case-by-case basis. I personally think that you know, Man United will be ready to play against Newcastle the day after Boxing Day, because most of their players that are out isolating now will be back next week. It would mean Premier League chiefs have been informed that with rising case numbers being fueled by the Omicron variant, there would be support for suspending games until the weekend of January the 8th, 9th. That is from ASBN. And it would mean postponing 4 rounds of league games beginning this weekend and continuing through the weekend of Jan 1st, 2nd under the proposal. Premier League games would restart on January the 15th. So it's a month. A month. Premier League clubs want to have a month off. Fucking jokers. Absolute jokers. You know what? If Premier League clubs would get their arse into gear in the first place and actually ran their fucking football clubs properly with the protocols they had a year ago, we wouldn't have even been in this situation in the first place. And now they want a month off. If a player gets COVID, it's just unlucky, like an injury. Carry on playing the game and move on. The league can't shut down again. It's a joke, says Haz. Governments are lying to us, says Victor. Under the proposal, Premier League games would restart on January the 15th, says Sainath. And hi Mark, understand if people want to take precautions and whatnot, but why the hell did I take a vaccine if we're still in this situation, says Akil. Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? You know, to be honest with you, I don't really want to talk about vaccines. I thought about it and I did it because I felt that it had a better... the reason I had the vaccine, not because I'm pro or against it, I had it because... one, it protects those people around me, and one, it protects me more. So, you know, that's why I did it. Mark, there's bigger agendas than football. EPL has millions of viewers, and they have used it for years to push hidden agendas, says Sanka. Just to give you credit, Mark, you was consistent back then to have the league back despite Liverpool close to winning the league. Get protocols in place and play. Mental health matters, says Amit. And the women who discovered the variant said she was shocked by the UK's reaction and that the cases were extremely mild, says Alec Dukas. Look, I'm not going to be inconsistent. I remember having DT on the show when we were in lockdown last time, and he was like, cancel it for a year and all this, that. And I was like, I wanted the Premier League to come back and finish the season, even though Liverpool were going to win the league. You're right. And I want the Premier League to come. I don't want the Premier League to go on a month off. You know, make these fucking clubs work. Like, if they have a month off, you know what happens if you give them a month off? Got a month off, everyone. You know, do what you want for a month. We'll be back in training in 2 weeks. So, yeah, you know, do what you want for 2 weeks and then we'll be back. We're just going to clean Carrington or everything like that. If they don't go lockdown for a month and Liverpool keep playing their games, you know what United have got to do and you know what Chelsea have got to do. They've actually got to get some protocols in place. They've actually got to speak to their players and advise them on how to behave and what to do in their own time and how to avoid, you know, best practices, do the right thing. We need to play against Newcastle. I'll make these fucking clubs work, I say. But, you know, what I'd also say as well is we aren't armed with the facts. And it's very difficult for fans because we run on emotion and we're fed on shit like mushrooms. We don't have the facts. And maybe Man United and other clubs are sat there going, wow, you don't know this, you don't know. No, we don't know. And why don't we know? You know, if without the fans, you're nothing. but you don't communicate again. Why do you want a month off? Why do you think you need a month off? Half your team's off at the moment with COVID. No, it's not. It's only 3 or 4 cases and 10 of them are unvaccinated, so they've got to isolate. Well, that's a different story. No wonder you don't want that out. And that's something that I said yesterday morning. Like, Man United might only be able to put 12 players out, but 10 of those players who are out might not have anything. They might just be isolating because they're not vaccinated. They might not have COVID. In which case, this is a huge problem, because next week, when the 2-3 players come back with COVID and then the unvaccinated players come back, but someone else gets it, the 10 players who are unvaccinated have to go and isolate again. So this is the transparency that's needed. It's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of mental health involved in this. And clubs and the Premier League need to be transparent. Are people missing the game because they've got COVID, or are players missing the game because they're unvaccinated and they've got to isolate for 10 days? In which case, I would change the fucking rule. Because otherwise, we're going to have this problem for years. I would just change the rule. I would say, look, if you're unvaccinated and you haven't got COVID, you can train. You don't have to isolate for 10 days. As long as they sign the waiver themselves. Because otherwise, if I'm Mr. Unvaccinated Man United player and I come into training on Monday and somebody's got COVID, I've got to isolate for 10 days. So I come back 10 days later, oh, another United player's got it now. I've got I could be isolating for 3 months and never have the illness. So they've got to do something better than this, because this is a farce. And I think some people go, oh, it's Christmas time. Oh, I'll just get pissed and not bother about football. What makes you think we're coming back on January the 15th? This is the thing I really want to say. We're hearing this rumour that the Premier League wants to shut down till January the 15th. You're having a fucking laugh if you think it's coming back on the January the 15th. It won't come back on January the 15th. It'll then be pushed back to February the 15th. And then it'll be March. I'm telling you now, if they lock it down for 3 or 4 weeks, it will not be coming back in 3 or 4 weeks. And that's why I would try absolutely everything to keep it going. And anyone who says you're a madman, I would say, whoa, if I'm mad, how come I've got evidence of a year ago where no vaccine existed, nobody was vaccinated, everybody was vulnerable to a far more virulent strain last January, where our hospitals were rammed, and yet football clubs were playing 3 times a week. So it can be done. We've proven that we can keep football going even when a virus is very infectious, because we did it a year ago, and that's what we need to fight back to do. Gareth, thank you very much for the super chat. And Mark, it's welcome you have got fed up with this COVID crap also. We've mostly protected the whole population now, so we can't get back to normal, says Jay. Well, we will be getting back to normal, because I'm heading down. Well, we won't be getting back to normal, but whilst I still have the freedom to go down the pub and have a few drinks with my mates, I'm going to go down the pub and have a few drinks with my mates, because I have, like many other people, had a fucking pin in my arm twice, and they want me to do it 3 times, and yet we're acting like it's March 13th, 2020, trying to go into a fucking lockdown. And I'm puzzled by this. I'm absolutely puzzled by this. How they're trying to sell football being locked down, society being locked down, and yet they've jabbed us 3 bloody times. No, it's a bloody joke. And why? Why can't people be transparent and say the reason we're going to put you all back in a lockdown is actually because of this? And is it because some people haven't had that, or is it because that doesn't work? What is it? Why is it? We're not bloody pincushions. What's going on? How can we be going back into a situation with a weaker virus that causes less symptoms when we've all been most of us have been vaccinated? How is this even happening? So, we'll have to wait and see. March 13th is Kane's birthday, and I'm leaving at 4 a.m. for the game Saturday from Portsmouth, and I know we'll end up turning back. You won't, Alfie. You'll know before that. You'll know way before that. Mark, it's ridiculous the Premier League do not have anything in place since the previous lockdown. Where the hell is the contingency plan, says Davo. Look, I appreciate they've probably been caught on the hop by this new... Somebody said to me yesterday, the government are a disgrace how they've allowed this to happen. But I said 2 weeks ago, had you even heard what Omicron was? You probably thought it was a transformer. It has happened very quickly, and it has caught a lot of people on the hop. But let's go. Thanks everyone for watching. Apparently Kieran McKenna's going to go to Ipswich. That's a bit of positive news. Looking at all the reports, I feel like the Premier League will get postponed till January. This sucks. We need to bring back the streak bubbles for the players, says Saineth. Can I just say as well, I've dropped it in the video description, if we are going to be without United for a couple of weeks, my FIFA career modes always do quite well. Well, I have got a FIFA career mode that's actually up and running. It's actually United Stand FC. We've just been promoted to the Premier League. Our first few games in the Premier League is now up on That's Football as a highlights package. So if you want to get into something over Christmas that's going to be interactive and you don't know the result of it, maybe that's something for you, a little treat. Links in the video description for the episode, for the first episode highlights. I do stream on Twitch. I'm going out for a few beers and I will be probably streaming on Twitch tonight a little bit later. So get involved with that career mode. And thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit.